Hello and welcome to the FatBOSS guide to Socrethar the Eternal on Mythic.
Yes, this fight is arguably easier on Mythic than Heroic, providing you can deal with the mechanics efficiently. This is simply because the red portals in Phase 2 do not spawn Dominators as frequently, and it makes it so much easier for you to do just a one Phase 2 sort of fight. There are, however, a few additions on Mythic, primarily things added in Phase 1.
Now for this encounter you do want to bring 2 tanks, 4 or 5 healers, it doesn't matter really, and any DPS comp you like. Now in Phase 1 you want to tank the construct on one side of the room and have your range camp stacked towards the middle of the room. Tanks you want to swap on the reverberating blow just like you did on Heroic. Healers, the overwhelming power dot that the boss applies to random players actually does quite a lot of damage now, so just try and make sure you keep them topped. And for everyone, when the boss targets you for a charge, make sure you move out of your group so it doesn't hit them, and the same goes for the Fell Orb and the Fell Prison.
Now something that's been added to the encounter is that the construct will now use an ability called Apocalyptic Fell Burst. This is an orb that will appear above a random player, and after a couple of seconds, it will land and pretty much instantly kill anyone stood underneath it, as well as doing a large amount of raid-wide damage. You'll likely have 2 of these drop on your first kill unless your DPS is insane, and to prevent accidental deaths, set up healing cooldowns for each one of them. Now on the first orb, we use a barrier and a link, and on the second one, we use AM and personal cooldowns. Also added in this phase is a brand new type of ad. On a timer, the boss will spawn a shadowy, spirally orb things above a player in the sky that will land and form a Soul Stalker. These Soul Stalkers, once spawned, will begin to fixate on the closest player. Whilst fixating on a player, the Soul Stalker's speed increases, but most notably, they will be casting something called Eternal Hunger. This is a cone in front of them that deals lethal damage to anyone inside, so make sure you're never directly in front of this mob. Now these ads have too much health to be killed off, and they also have a mechanic that they'll instantly heal to full health if they change fixate target, so you can't really kill them. However, you can CC them, namely using hunter traps. So when the first ad spawns, everyone moves away from it, and the hunter stands near to its spawn location. As soon as the ad starts casting onto you, because it has to do a cast before it starts spawning out that horrible cone of death at you, as soon as it starts casting on you, you are the fixate target, so you can go anywhere you want. At this point, you want to disengage away, or if you're really worried about it, you can use deterrence in order to make it so even if it does hit you, it won't actually kill you. You then want to kite this ad quite far away from the raid. We have a little marker set up so that all the ads will be CC'd in one point, because during Phase 2 you're going to be chain CCing them and you need them to be on top of one another. Once it is behind the raid, wait for the first orb to land before you trap it. If you trap it before the orb actually does damage to the ad, so the trap will be broken and you won't have a trap for another 30 seconds, so you'll be running around in circles trying to kite it for ages, and you should really be back at the boss at this point, so make sure you do trap it after the orb has landed. In order to make sure that you don't take too much damage from the first orb landing, you can always use the deterrence because you'll be really far away from your healers at this point. As a hunter, make sure that you do use Solace for your traps to make sure it removes any dots from the ad as soon as it is trapped, because if once it gets out, it's just a pain in the ass to try and get back again. After it has been trapped, just make sure you run away back to the boss and just make sure you keep going back every single time it's about to run out, or every single time an orb is about to land. If you are going to have 2 orbs, you are going to need to trap it twice, so make sure that you do, otherwise everyone's going to be really angry with you. When the second ad spawns, do the exact same thing. Try and trap it as close to the old one as possible. It is great if you can get 2 hunters to do this, but it's not the end of the world. You can just get some other random person to do it and you can chain CC it there.
Now the moment the boss has transitioned into Phase 2, get one of your tanks to jump inside the construct and immediately place a prism on top of the Soul Stalkers. From this point onwards, you do not need to worry about them whatsoever. Just make sure you use prison on them on cooldown. Now on Mythic, you want to aim to kill the boss before you either go back into Phase 1 or before a third Dominator spawns, and this is actually really easy to do. Damage on the boss from everyone in this phase is pretty much irrelevant, as the construct will do most of it. You want your DPS to be on ads full time. Now when the first red portal spawns, have everyone stack underneath it, and also make sure that you have your interrupt rotations set up for the boss. If any exert dominance goes off in this phase and you go back into Phase 1, you're going to wipe. You do not want that to happen. Have your constructs set up charge lines between the raid and the white portal. Assign 2 or 3 DPS to kill any ghosts that spawn. We actually use warlocks and boomkins. Now when the first dominator spawns, have your entire raid team swap to it, including the construct. With the construct, you can actually use the Apocalyptic Fell Burst on them. It deals an absolutely crazy amount of damage to them if it's a direct hit. You do, however, need to be incredibly careful, especially as melee, because the Fell Orb won't do that much damage to your raid as AoE, but if you're inside the animation when it lands, you will be one shot.
Now on this first Dominator, we generally use Bloodlust but save our pots, and we do use rings at this point as well, and it gets absolutely annihilated. You don't really want it lasting more than roughly 10 seconds, so you can actually kind of pre-ring if you want to make it so the explosion will knock off the last of the Dominator's health. That's a little bit more risky, but if you want to be pro with your rings, you can always try that out. For the second Dominator that spawns, your 2-minute cooldown should be back up at that point, and really, you just use anything you've got for that Dominator because it will be the last one. You just want to use your pots, you want to use pretty much anything you have left just to kill the bastard as soon as possible. Now the Dominator on Mythic will still place the gift debuff on random players just like it did on Heroic. However, it will be applied to 4 players rather than 2. 4 people all doing AoE damage on the raid at the exact same time is incredibly deadly. However, if you precast healing cooldowns and if people move out quickly with them, you'll be absolutely fine. On the first Dominator, the only CD we use is Revival, and that's when the debuffs are placed out just to make sure that everyone survives.
You should aim to kill this first Dominator with a construct having at least 50% health left. Apart from that, grip in any Shadowcaller adds from the purple portals and interrupt them if you're not one of the players assigned to interrupt the boss. All DPS should be on the Shadowcallers if there isn't any Dominators up. Like we said, damage on the boss is being completely covered by the construct. So after doing virtually nothing apart from killing adds, healing debuffed players and nuking the boss for 2 minutes, the next red portal will spawn. If you're lucky, it'll actually spawn right where you are and you do not have to move to the other side of the room.
It's also important that, of course, when the portals do move, do keep in mind that the white portal will move as well, probably, so make sure you set up new fire lines so that the adds are slowed.
A couple of seconds later, the last Dominator will spawn, and it's at this point you want to use everything you have left just to kill it. And you also want to use all remaining healing cooldowns that you have available for when the 4 debuffs come out. It isn't rare for us to use literally Healing Tide, Spirit Link, Barrier, and AM all at the exact same time on this last one, just so you know there's no way we're going to fucking die. If you manage to kill this Dominator, and the majority of your raid is still alive, and the construct is on a fairly decent level of health, you're easily looking at a kill at this point. Not much can really go wrong.
But yeah, that's about it. This boss is really not very hard. You'll kill it pretty quick. It's kind of like one of the free bosses after Gorfiend. You got like this and Shadowlord Iskar that should drop pretty quickly. As long as you can. Once again, it's all about killing that Dominator. Save everything you've got for that Dominator, and assuming that dies and you can interrupt, you can kill the boss and get some free loot, which is awesome.
Well, thank you very much for watching, guys. If this guy did help out, then please do drop us down a like, and we shall see you on the next video.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Thank you.